There are so many different things you can do with laminated material. The zigzag bowl that we just finished, that zigzag technique is just one of so many different things you can do with laminations. I'm going to show you another technique. This happens to be maple, ebony, and tulip wood. Three of my favorite woods in combination. The tulip wood's only about a 1/4 inch thick and a thin piece of ebony, thicker piece of maple. I'm going to cut segments out of this, put it together, and hopefully, if it turns out as I envision, we'll get a series of ovals going around the outside of the feature ring. So follow along as I take you through this procedure. Before cutting my segments, I'd like to know, in general, what this thing might look like. By creating a layout of 8 laminated segments, I can pretty much determine the shape of the ovals that will be created. The first thing I discover is my maple layer didn't need to be nearly that thick. What I'm most interested in is the way the curve of the ring will cut through the ebony and tulip wood layers. This sketch confirms that the curvature of the ring will cut through both outside layers and expose the maple behind. Try to picture the ebony layer. If it were a lot thicker, then the maple behind it would never become exposed. Now it's a matter of cutting 8 segments, 22.5 degrees, with the tulip wood to the outside. A dry fit confirms that my saw was set properly, but I want better looking seams, so I'm going to sand these. When sanding long segments like this, it's really important that you do a good job keeping the segment ends against the stop block. During the glue job, it'll be critical that the points all line up. I'm going to put ebony in between these seams, which will separate the points and make them more difficult to line up. The purpose of this green tape is I can line up the straight edges of the tape, which in turn should line up all my points. Numbering all the seams will assist me when I go to glue this together, just to keep everything the same way it was when it was dry. For clamps, I'm going to initially start off with some rubber bands. This will allow me to make little minute adjustments to get everything lined up just the way I want it. Once I have everything adjusted as I want, then a hose clamp provides the final pressure. Because of the ebony pieces, it's difficult to tell if the segments are lined up tip to tip. I have to rely upon lining up the edges of that green tape. That tells me that the tips are opposite one another. I'm now going to mount this on a piece of MDF with a center disc, which will perfectly center it. By squeezing in a few pieces of veneer, I should be able to get it perfectly centered. Can you see my veneer shims? Producing a round ring and a perfectly centered ring are the big challenges in this project. The tiniest inaccuracy is dramatically magnified as you try to shape these ovals on the outside. This is no time for super aggressive turning. Really slow and easy. Stop the lathe frequently. Look at what you're producing. Here I've incorporated the ring into a vessel shape. By removing a little more wood on this right side, I should be able to get that maple even on both sides of the oval. This technique of creating ovals by just exposing the wood in a lamination, it's all part of what I call lamination trickery. There's a whole chapter in my book that deals with many different aspects of lamination trickery. What I wanted to point out here is there's limited shape options that you can use this particular shape in. You've got to have a fairly sharp curve in order to expose those ovals. You might be able to put something like this on the top curved section of a bowl that's curving back in, but your opportunities are pretty limited. In my book, I've got a little prop that was used in that chapter. Here's another set of ovals from a ring. What I found very interesting just an hour ago, looking around the house, here's that first turning that I showed in my Volume 1 intro. This is my very first laminated turning, but lo and behold, what's there? An oval. The oval was just exposed by turning this profile out of this simple lamination. There's, like I say, limited opportunities for the ovals. However, if you're looking for curves being created by turning through straight laminations, there's all kinds of opportunities. Here's a little coffee cup. Look at the curves here. These were all done by just cutting through laminated material. Now these are not even like the ovals because this stave constructed cup was actually offset mounted, which exposed the curves differently as the material was removed. Here's another example of that. This is a coffee mug that I use on a pretty regular basis. I did an article on this mug a while back in American Woodturner. If you're interested in this subject of lamination trickery, there are 2 magazine articles, PDF files free for download at my website. So I encourage you to give it a try. It can be a lot of fun.